In this lesson, we're going to look at UIL competition editorial writing, which is opinion writing. This video can help as a review before competing in UIL journalism editorial writing, or it can work as just a good refresher too for how to write an editorial and some of the rules for that in your student publications. Let's start by taking a look at the prompt here. And I'm going to zoom out so you can kind of see the whole thing. So an editorial prompt is a little different than the feature writing and news writing prompts, but there are some similarities too. So I'm going to start out by showing you this. Again, you have some introductory information here like you see on many of these prompts. This is important info that you'll need. It gives you a general premise for what it would look like if you took a supporting the change position or a supporting position, and a premise of what it would look like to support the opposing position. Then it's also going to give you a couple of interviews here, and we'll talk more about this in a second, because this is not like news writing or feature writing where you're going to pull quotes from these interviews. These interviews and this additional information is just meant to give you some examples of some things you can paraphrase perhaps, or use as information to write it. You're not going to directly quote from those. It's always a good thing to read this little sidebar that tell you kind of some context and rules. Remember, for these UIL competitions, you're basically pretending to be a student journalist for a imaginary school called League Town High School, the League Town Press. Okay, so you're imagining you're writing for this fictional League Town High School. And using the information given, you're going to write an editorial as you would for the school newspaper. Remember that as an editorial writer, you should support or oppose policy or action. You should not just sermonize. That means don't just preach at them. You've really got to suggest a specific policy or action. We'll talk about that in 1 second. You have 45 minutes to do this writing, and as always, the rules for UIL is you can't put your school name or your name anywhere on your entry, just the number that you're assigned for the competition there. When you get this prompt, what you're looking for is what position you're going to take. Okay? You need to have a pretty clear idea once you've read this prompt of what position you're going to take in support. You cannot be wishy-washy with it. The idea is that they can see that you really know how to write an editorial. So you need to take a very clear staff stance. You also have to remember that you should never use the first person I in a staff editorial like what these are. You should either use the third person, or you're going to write in the collective voice and use we. That's okay to do. In fact, this is what they're expecting to see in that editorial. Also remember to pay attention to how you sound in your writing, especially for an editorial. You really need to sound fair, like you're being fair, and mature. You cannot resort to name calling and just simply dissing the opposition or attacking them like that. You need to sound fair and mature even while making your point strongly. The experts also say that you want to avoid sounding pretentious too. Don't go the other directions and sound like a know-it-all jerk. You want to avoid that. You've got to remember that you're attacking policies, the ideas, and not the people. Okay? You're not telling you're not writing about how dumb the principal is or anything like that. You're attacking policies, not people. When you're reading through this prompt for the first time, you're really trying to understand here at the beginning the lay of the land. What is the issue going on? Because you are going to have to explain in your opinion piece what the deal is, what the problem or situation is. And then you need to decide what position you're going to argue from, like we talked about. And they even do this really nice thing of kind of showing you what the possible positions are. Then when it comes to these quotes, again, like I said, you're not looking for specific quotations to pull like you would in a news story or feature story, but where these are really handy are giving you ideas for certain specific examples you could use. Instead of directly quoting the people, you can paraphrase what they've said and tell their story and experience for them if you think it's something you can use as an example. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, not all of the quotes presented, not all of the interviews there are going to be helpful to you. In fact, a lot of times maybe there's one thing in there, two things out of all the quotes that maybe you're able to use as an example in your writing. Other than that, you're going to have to generate those examples on your own. Those quotes are really mostly there to throw you off. They're tricking people to see if this person's going to mess up and directly quote somebody like it's a news story or feature story. For all of these UIL prompts, that's what they're looking for. They're saying, do you know the difference between an editorial, a feature, and a news story? So make sure that you do not use direct quotes in an editorial like this, okay? So you can maybe pull some stuff from those quotes that you're going to paraphrase, again, that you're going to say in your own words or describe, maybe some. But for the most part, they're there to throw you off. So that should give you an idea of what you're going to see in the prompt and how to kind of approach the prompt and kind of get started with a plan. In the next video, we're going to show you how do you actually write that editorial. What should the structure be? What do you need to have? And what do you need to think about?